Discover the incredible journey of 10,000 hearts, how feeding the Great Khan transformed lives forever. In the heart of Willow Creek, Sarah stood proudly by the counter of her diner, Sarah's Place, the scent of sizzling bacon and fresh bread enveloping her like a warm embrace. Each plate served was more than just a meal, it was a lifeline. The famed Great Khan sandwich, inspired by her grandmother's recipes, had a magical way of stitching broken hearts together. Every bite whispered tales of resilience, comfort, and connection, making it a dish cherished by the community. It wasn't just food, it was home. As Sarah watched the cheerful chatter of mothers sharing moments over steaming cups of coffee, a heaviness hung in the air, an ache that crept in when she saw the dwindling tables filled with patrons. A few years ago, every seat would be buzzing with laughter. Now, a single family in the corner, soldiers playing cards, and the occasional lonely soul nursing a mug of coffee were all that remained. She squeezed her eyes shut, trying to push the worry aside. "Keep your head high, Sarah," she whispered to herself, "you're not alone." When she organized community dinners, the love radiated through the diner like an embrace. She served hearty plates to neighbors struggling with their burdens, hoping to weave comfort through shared meals. Last Tuesday, she watched tears glide down the cheek of an elderly veteran, touched by the kindness of a stranger who offered to share her bread. That moment radiated warmth. It was as if the diner served as a vessel of hope amidst despair, yet, whispers had begun to rumble like thunder in the streets. A wealthy developer with a towering vision intended to demolish Sarah's place. Panic coursed through her veins. The diner had weathered storms before, but could they face this storm? With the stakes raised, Sarah rallied her community, a beacon for every warrior and storyteller who'd ever walked through those doors. They united, fueled by nostalgia and fury, to save their beloved hangout. The town hall meeting buzzed with anticipation. Voices echoed, filled with emotions swinging from fear to anger. Sarah stood to deliver her impassioned speech, heart pounding, skin prickling with vulnerability. "This diner is more than just bricks and mortar," she pleaded. "It's where friendships were formed, battles were fought over coffee and sandwiches. It's the heart of Willow Creek." Muffled shouts erupted, but Sarah's steady gaze silenced the room for a heartbeat, filled with hope. But as the meeting folded and the developer's financial power loomed over their fight, hope started to flicker like a candle in a storm. Statements became jumbled, and frustration seeped into the hearts of her neighbors. For a moment, despair crushed Sarah's spirit. Was her family legacy destined to dissolve into the shadows? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the crowd began to disperse, Sarah was left with the weight of uncertainty. The future of her diner loomed like a black cloud, but a flicker of determination ignited within her. She was not just fighting to save a building, she was fighting for the soul of Willow Creek, for every laugh, every tear shed over meals shared. The strength of her community surged through her, and in that moment, Sarah vowed she would not back down. Resilience coursed through her veins as she reached deep into her heart, ready for one final push. Suddenly, Sarah felt the spark of hope vibrate through the air. What would be their next move? The answer to that question held the key to everything. As dawn broke over Willow Creek, the familiar hum of the diner began to seep back into Sarah's bones. The sun spilled warm light through the windows, kissing the booths and counter with a promise of a new day. But the air was still thick with uncertainty. Despite her determination, the reality of the fight ahead weighed heavily on her heart. She busied herself in the kitchen, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables grounding her amid a swirl of thoughts. The town meeting echoed in her mind, voices clashing, fears mounting. But as she prepared the morning specials, the clatter of pots and the simmering of soup became a familiar melody, lulling her spirit back into focus. Just then, the door swung open, and with it, came a gust of fresh energy. It was Tom, a local farmer and one of Sarah's biggest supporters. His face lit up upon entering, brightening the dim corners of Sarah's worries. "Hey, Sarah!" he called out, his voice full of warmth. "I brought some fresh tomatoes from my latest batch. Thought they could make a great addition to your sandwiches." Sarah looked up, gratitude washing over her like a wave. "Tom, you're a lifesaver." She beamed, accepting the crimson bounty as if it were gold. Inspiration ignited like a match within her. "Do you think we could host a farmer's dinner? Celebrate local produce and bring the community together?" Tom's brow furrowed slightly, intrigued yet cautious. "You know the developer won't back down easily. What if it doesn't turn out like you hope?" Her smile didn't waver. "Then we try again. But if there's one thing I've learned from making the Great Khan, it's that every ingredient counts. Together, we can serve something powerful. It's not just food, it's about resilience. Every heart that walks through these doors deserves a taste of hope." Tom nodded slowly, the fire of determination kindling in his chest. "All right, count me in. Let's rally everyone we can." As word spread about the farmer's dinner, Sarah's place buzzed with excitement. Neighbors poured in, contributing dishes and ideas, their collective hopes swirling like fragrance around them. Together, they crafted an evening filled with love, laughter, and the undeniable essence of community. That evening, the diner was transformed. Lanterns glowed softly, and the tables overflowed with plates of colorful, homegrown dishes. Laughter and stories filled the air. Sarah stood at the counter, watching her friends and neighbors relish the moment, tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. Hope, alive and blooming, mirrored the spirit of every bite shared that day, yet, during the celebration, her gaze drifted to the empty corner booth. It was where she and her grandmother had shared countless conversations over sandwiches and coffee. A pang of longing struck her heart. What if she lost all this? That emptiness felt impending, creeping back into her thoughts. Suddenly, a voice broke through her reverie. It was Lucy, a young artist in the community. "Sarah, you've brought us all together tonight. We need to show everyone how special this place is, not just talk about it, but really show it." That ignited a flicker in Sarah's spirit. "You're right, Lucy. We need to tell our story. What if we create art that reflects who we are and what Sarah's place means to us? We can invite everyone to share their memories." The vision took flight like the aromas wafting through the diner. They planned to cover the walls with paintings, photographs, and stories of resilience, each piece an emblem of the hearts intertwined at Sarah's place. As they huddled together, their excitement blossomed, but the weight of time pressed on Sarah's shoulders. Would their story be enough to sway the hearts of those who wished to silence their cherished home? Yet, as she looked around at the smiling faces, she felt the familiar warmth. Together, they would create a masterpiece, their collective heartbeat echoing against the ticking clock of fate. What would the community reveal through their art, and would it be enough to save Sarah's place? Only time would tell as the first brush strokes were drawn. The days that followed were a whirlwind of creativity. The walls of Sarah's place began to change, transformed by bright splashes of paint, photographs capturing smiles, and snippets of handwritten stories. Each brushstroke felt like a tribute to the past, and yet a promise for the future. On a crisp Saturday morning, Sarah stood before the diner, her arms folded, watching as her neighbors gathered for the big unveiling. The anticipation hung in the air like the warm scent of brewed coffee. They had worked tirelessly, pouring their hearts and memories into this project. Soon the raw emotions would hang not just in frames but in the very soul of their community. Lucy had organized everything, rallying the artists and storytellers with her infectious energy. She moved among the crowd now, her paint-splattered apron a badge of honor. "Are you ready, Sarah?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. "Ready as I'll ever be," Sarah replied, her voice slightly tremulous. The knot in her stomach tightened. What if no one came? What if it flopped? Tom approached them, holding a steaming tray of fresh biscuits. "Hey, don't forget, the food's part of this too. These biscuits should be the first thing they see, he said, grinning. Thank you, Tom. You always know how to lift my spirits, Sarah responded, breathing in the familiar scent of home-cooked goodness. As the doors swung open, the townsfolk began to stream in, their conversations blending into a comfortable hum. The walls, adorned with local art, seemed to dance with the energy of the moment. Children darted between tables, excitedly pointing at vibrant murals and asking questions. Parents stood with cups of coffee in hand, discussing the pieces that spoke to their own history. Look at this one. A woman exclaimed, pointing to a mural depicting Sarah's grandfather as he cooked in the old diner kitchen. I remember when he made the best chili in town. Her voice was full of nostalgia, and Sarah caught the gleam of tears in her eyes. The crowd's laughter mingled with memories, feeding the spirit of the evening. This wasn't just a display, it was a celebration of life, of the blood, sweat, and tears poured into every baked pie and served cup of coffee. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow through the windows, Sarah took a moment to observe the scene around her. Faces filled with joy reflected at her from every corner. Each person gathered had a story, each piece of art represented a shared experience. Somehow, against all odds, they had woven a tapestry of hope together, but just as Sarah allowed a swell of pride to rise in her chest, a chill swept through the room. The door creaked open, and in walked a group of town officials, people she had seen often at city meetings. Their serious expressions dimmed the laughter, as murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Oh," Tom whispered beside her, a worried frown creasing his brow, with dread gnawing at her heart. Sarah's instinct told her this wasn't just a casual visit. The tension in the air thickened, and she found herself standing on the precipice of a new reality. Would they hinder this blossoming moment? Would they put a stop to the very essence of what brought everyone together? "Sarah," one of the officials said, breaking the silence, his voice steady yet forceful. "We need to talk about the developments planned for this site." Her world narrowed to that one sound. The smiles faded, replaced by anxious glances. As Sarah prepared herself for the conversation ahead, a spark ignited within her. In that moment, she realized they had a story to tell, one that mattered. But what would it take to convince them that Sarah's place was worth fighting for, and would it be enough to protect the very heart of their community? Sarah's heart raced as she stood before the officials. The weight of their gazes felt heavier than the sun dipping behind the trees. She glanced around the diner, taking in the laughter, the warmth, the vibrant art that told their stories. How could anyone want to take this away? "Can we help you?" she asked, her voice steadier than the frantic pace of her thoughts. The official took a step forward, clearing his throat. "We appreciate what you've done here," he began, glancing at the art that adorned the walls, before quickly turning back to Sarah. "However, we need to discuss plans for the new retail development slated to begin next month. We can't have this establishment standing in the way." "Standing in the way?" Sarah echoed, a mix of confusion and fear crashing over her. "This place isn't just a diner to us. This is a part of our community's identity. It's where stories and bonds are formed over cups of coffee and slices of pie." Tom shifted beside her, his hands clenching into fists. "You can't tear this down. This isn't just business, it's personal," he shouted, the affection he had for Sarah's place pouring out like an avalanche of emotion. "Please," Lucy chimed in, her voice rising above the growing murmurs of the crowd. "We've built something beautiful here. We've stitched together a tapestry of our lives in this diner. It's more than a building, it's our heart." The official seemed unmoved. "It's a changing world. We need to adapt. This project is part of a larger vision for the town's growth." "But at what cost?" Sarah interjected, the fire in her chest igniting further. "Growth shouldn't mean erasing what makes us unique. This diner has been a safe haven, a place to gather, to remember, to dream." Her voice trembled, filled with passion and urgency. Some in the crowd began to nod in agreement. "Remember the Saturday suppers?" an older gentleman shouted from the back. Remember how everyone would come together. We can't lose this. The air thickened with emotion. Faces around Sarah were alive with memories of laughter, friendship, and warmth that only a place like this could offer. She felt a swell of solidarity. They were all in this together. Seeing their emotions shift, the official hesitated. We just need to consider the issues of accessibility and parking. The conversation transformed, sparking discussions about the diner's importance, memories shared, and the community's character. Sarah could feel the tide turning. It wasn't just words thrown into the air anymore, it was an appeal to their shared humanity, to preserve what mattered most. Sarah, Lucy whispered, nudging her shoulder. Maybe we could propose a partnership. Show them how it could work. Partnership? Sarah mused, incredulous. You mean like turning Sarah's place into a heritage site? Yes. Lucy beamed, full of hope. If we can demonstrate that preserving the diner can benefit the town economically and culturally, they might just agree. Sarah felt the flicker of hope reignite within her. Perhaps there was a way to merge their community spirit with the demands of growth. But just before she could respond, another town official spoke up, raising a hand. Wait, before we decide, we need to consult with the other stakeholders. This isn't something we can decide on a whim. The door creaked, and more heads turned, eyes narrowing on the newcomer. An unexpected face entered, the mayor himself, an enigmatic figure whose decisions often swayed the town. Let us see what he has to say, Sarah murmured quietly. With her heart pounding, Sarah was left waiting, unsure of what this next encounter would bring. Little did she know, this visit from the mayor would lead her into a discovery that could either save or shatter everything they had built, and somewhere deep within her, she wondered, what secrets lay hidden in the heart of their community that could change the game entirely. The mayor strode confidently into the diner, his presence commanding the room's attention like a rallying cry. Everyone fell silent, the murmurs of uncertainty replaced by anticipatory whispers. Sarah's heart raced again, but this time, it wasn't just fear, it was a blend of apprehension and hope. She had always respected the mayor, but today, he felt like a bearer of fate. Good evening, everyone, he began, his voice steady and reassuring. I appreciate you all gathering here today. I want to hear your concerns about the proposed development, but first, let me remind you of the vision we have for our town. Growth is inevitable, but I truly believe it can coexist with our cherished places. Sarah leaned forward, her palms resting on the table, feeling the sweat on her skin as she battled with her thoughts. Mayor, she said, her voice ringing through the diner. This place isn't just a structure made of wood and bricks. It's our history, our memories, and our safe space. Can't we find a way to grow without losing what matters? The mayor studied her, brow furrowed as he weighed his words. I understand your passion, Sarah. Perhaps, there's a compromise to be made. His words hung in the air like the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Hope fluttered in her chest. Was there really a way to save Sarah's place? A few people gasped at the prospect of compromise, while others leaned in closer, eager to hear more. What if we put together a proposal that outlines how preserving Sarah's place could enhance the new development? He pointed, as if drawing a line in the air. For example, we could establish it as a cultural hub, a center for events, art, and community gatherings. It could be a cornerstone of our growth. Tom shot Sarah a glance, his expression a mixture of disbelief and excitement. But how does that work? Does it mean you're considering keeping it open? He took a step forward, the concern shifting into shadow as possibility emerged. It would involve a partnership, the mayor replied. A creative collaboration between the town and the diner. But we need clear feedback from everyone here. Your stories, your love for this diner that can guide us. Sarah could feel the energy shift in the room, like the charge of a thunderstorm ready to burst. People exchanged looks, and a sense of urgency filled the air. We need to gather stories, Lucy chimed in, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. We can show them what this diner means to us. Let's gather photographs, memories, anything that illustrates the heartbeat of this place. Brilliant! Sarah exclaimed. We hold an event here, invite families, capture every story. We'll make sure every single voice is heard. The crowd murmured, their spirits lifting. They could see it now. Sarah's place could become testament to their resilience and unity. Suddenly, laughter bubbled over, and the diner felt alive again, not just with lingering worry but with dreams, hopes, and memories spilling out into the world. Yet, amidst the excitement, a nagging thought tugged at Sarah's mind. What if the partnership fell through? What if they gathered their stories only for them to be dismissed? Just then, the mayor's voice broke through her reverie. Let's aim for this event within the month, he said, confidence radiating from him like the warm light flooding in through the diner windows. I'll support you, but we need all hands on deck. We can't let this slip through our fingers. As the diner buzzed with newfound energy and determination, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility. And there, in the thick atmosphere of hope and strategy, she wondered, could they really capture the hearts of their town in time to save the diner? Each second felt precious as the first hints of fear crept back in an emotion she could not afford to linger on. She pushed it aside and took a deep breath. Let's get started, she declared, rallying the crowd. But as people began to stake their claims on organizing tasks, her mind drifted to the mayor. She couldn't shake the feeling that he held more secrets about the development than he revealed. Why was he so interested in saving the diner suddenly? And amidst the whirlwind of preparations, Sarah couldn't shake an unsettling question: were they truly fighting for their place, or was there something deeper at stake in their community's heart? The planning meeting exploded with energy. Tables shifted, pens flew, and voices overlapped like a tapestry of hopes woven together. Sarah pulled together a small group, Tom and Lucy, and began outlining the details. They needed everything: photos from the diner's early days, testimonies from regulars who found solace in the cracked vinyl booths, and art that captured the essence of their town. Let's start with a theme, Tom suggested, leaning over the table. Something that ties our stories together. Maybe home. It's what Sarah's place feels like to so many of us. Home, Sarah repeated, the word warming her heart. It resonated deeply, like a familiar melody. As ideas flowed, Sarah sensed a pulse of unity in the diner. They weren't just a collection of individuals anymore, they were a community. Conversation sparked around the room, with laughter and tears overlapping as memories surfaced. Remember that Christmas when Mrs. Darlene made her famous pie and we all stuffed our faces? Lucy chuckled, wiping a tear from her eye. I thought I was going to explode. But it was the happiest I've ever felt. The room erupted with shared laughter, and the collective nostalgia felt like an embrace wrapping around Sarah. She noted down every story that emerged, feeling the weight of each as they shared not just laughter, but their vulnerabilities. It was cathartic to see how their lives interlinked through the diner. After a while, the mayor approached, his hands clasped behind him. This is wonderful to see, he said, his tone genuine. He picked up a photo someone had laid out, a black and white image of the diner from decades ago. You're not just fighting for a building. You're protecting your history. But even as she nodded, a flicker of doubt clouded Sarah's thoughts. His words felt loaded. Was he truly on their side? She stood up, heart racing, and raised her voice. What we need from you, Mayor, is full commitment. We can't gather these stories only for you to decide it's not worth it later. He met her gaze and nodded slowly, the flickering diner lights casting shadows across his features. I hear your concerns, Sarah. I assure you, I want to preserve what's important. But it's a team effort. We can't do this alone. Then lead the way, she challenged, feeling adrenaline sparking through her veins. His response lingered in the air, and she could feel the room holding its breath, waiting. Later that evening, after the meeting had started to wind down, Sarah stood outside the diner. The soft glow of neon lights illuminated her as she watched families walk by, unaware of the storm brewing inside her. Though hope filled them, she still felt that gnawing uncertainty. Did gathering stories really give them a fighting chance? Tom stepped outside, his expression serious. "What's on your mind, Sarah?" I wonder if it's enough," she confessed. "What if we put everything into this and it still doesn't work out? What if we create this beautiful proposal, and the mayor turns around and says it's not feasible?" Tom shrugged, a confident smile breaking through. "We can't control everything. But if we don't try, we'll have lost without even fighting. And Sarah's place deserves that fight." She nodded, recognizing the flicker of resilience in his words. But just as hope ignited anew, the weight of expectation crashed down again. How much time did they really have? Would their stories be enough to counter the faster-moving gears of development? As they turned back toward the diner, she felt the battles ahead would be fought in both their hearts and the community's voice. What if they were violently shaking the foundations of something more significant, and what consequences lay in the balance? Little did she know, the truth about the mayor would surface soon, and it would ripple through their efforts in ways they could never have anticipated. The next day dawned with a soft glow that spilled across the diner's windows, illuminating the well-worn tables and the lingering aroma of fresh coffee. As Sarah stepped inside, a sense of purpose washed over her. Today was different. She wanted to dive deeper into the stories that connected them, something to weave their history into the fabric of their future. Tom was already there, setting up a makeshift photo station by the front counter. "Morning. Ready for round 2? He asked, a smile stretching across his face, brightening the room more than the morning light. "Absolutely. We need to capture every angle of what Sarah's place means to us. It's not just a diner, it's our lifeline." Sarah grabbed an old scrapbook from a nearby shelf, its pages already curling at the edges. Lucy arrived soon after, bouncing in with a box of old photos, laughter escaping her lips. "I found these. I bet there are some real gems in here," she exclaimed, dumping the box onto the table. Images floated out like butterflies, each with a story waiting to be told. As Sarah sifted through the photos, each click of the camera seemed to echo her heartbeat. Families gathered around tables, friends sharing meals, and a toddler with cake smeared across her face. These weren't just pictures, they were glimpses of lives intertwined. "Hey, how's about we each share a story linked to one of these?" Tom suggested, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "It might spark some other memories we can use for our proposal." Sarah nodded, excitement bolting through her. They convened around the table, each picture igniting tales of joy, heartbreak, and triumph. Slowly, the diner filled with the rich sound of laughter and the brush of nostalgia, almost palpable in the warmth of their gathering. "Here's one." Lucy pointed to a picture of a birthday celebration. "It was the last birthday Mrs. Darlene spent with us." Her laughter filled the diner that day. "We didn't realize how much we miss her until the smile faded." Her voice hung for a moment, heavy with shared grief, but Sarah was ready to shift the tide. "But look at that smile," she replied, determination brightening her features. "That's the essence of what we're fighting for, right? We're all bringing a piece of her legacy here." As the stories flowed, Tom glanced toward the door. "Anyone else feel like we're not just sharing memories? It feels more like we're building something, a spirit." "Exactly," Sarah exclaimed. "We need to frame this. Each story, each emotion, it needs to be a part of our proposal." But as they continued reminiscing, the clock ticked on, a pesky reminder of time slipping through their fingers. Sarah felt the weight of that urgency bearing down once again. "We really do need a plan. The mayor will want something compelling, something impactful." Just then, the bell above the diner door jingled, and Sarah's heart sank. It was Mayor Thompson, stepping in with his usual charm, but today he looked different. There was tension in his stride, a hitch in the way he smiled. "Good morning, everyone. I came to see what ideas were brewing today," he said, but the hedging tone sent a ripple of unease through Sarah. "Actually, we were just discussing the importance of documenting our stories," she said, her voice steady even as her heart raced. There's so much at stake, and we believe people's voices matter immensely. Absolutely. Mayor Thompson stepped closer, his gaze scanning the photos. But remember, there are complexities in preservation that we must consider. His words hung in the air like a warning. Sarah could feel the underlying tension, the hints of something unspoken. What did he mean by complexities? Did he sense the community's resolve growing stronger? As uncertainty swirled in Sarah's mind, she realized the mayor's presence could mean both an opportunity and a challenge. But before she could delve deeper, he added, "I'm eager to see what you come up with. Just make sure it aligns with our city's vision." And suddenly, Sarah knew they had no choice but to dig even deeper into their stories, into the heart of their community. They weren't just advocating for a diner, they were arguing for their shared soul against an unwritten future. As the mayor turned to leave, Sarah felt a surge of determination not only to gather their history, but to uncover the truth behind his intentions. What secrets lay beneath the surface? What lengths would she go to protect her community? The battle was just beginning, and Sarah was ready to confront whatever storm lay ahead. But she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something far more complex than they could have imagined. The atmosphere in Sarah's place shifted dramatically as the mayor stepped outside, the doors swinging closed behind him. A nervous energy filled the diner, palpable in the silence that followed. Tom exchanged glances with Lucy, both expressions mirroring Sarah's concern. Did anyone else feel that? Tom finally broke the tension. He didn't just come here to chat. There's something brewing. His frown deepened, eyes darting to the window as if expecting the mayor to return. Lucy nodded, her earlier cheer diminished. It felt heavy. What could he possibly mean by complexities? Before Sarah could respond, the bell chimed again, this time announcing an unexpected visitor. All eyes turned to see Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly woman known for her fierce loyalty to the diner. She shuffled in, her cane tapping lightly against the floor like a metronome to their growing unease. "Good morning, everyone," she said, breathless but determined. "I just heard the mayor was here." Her eyes sparkled with concern. "Is everything all right?" "Just discussing ideas for the proposal," Sarah replied, forcing a smile to mask the growing knot in her stomach. "But we're fine, Mrs. Jenkins, just fine." The older woman settled herself at one of the tables, her weathered face lined with wisdom. "You know, Sarah," she began slowly, her voice soft but firm, "this diner isn't just a building. It's a part of us. It carries our stories, our losses, and our victories." "I couldn't agree more," Sarah said, feeling a swell of appreciation for Mrs. Jenkins. "That's why we're working on capturing everything, every moment, every smile. We need to protect it." Mrs. Jenkins suddenly interjected, her eyes brightening. "Just like we protected our town when the factory shut down." Tom leaned in, curiosity piqued. "What do you mean?" "Oh, honey, that's a tale I'll never forget." Mrs. Jenkins waved a hand, prompting them to gather closer. "When the factory went under, we thought the whole town would fall apart. But we rallied. Every family, every soul in this diner, a whole community came together to rebuild." Sarah's heart fluttered. "How did you do it?" "We shared our stories, just like you're doing now. Found strength in each other, made a plan. What you're all doing matters. It's about standing together and not letting anyone take away what belongs to us." Tom's eyes widened, an idea sparking to life. "If we could capture that spirit, that sense of community and resilience, maybe we could present it to the mayor, show him what this diner truly means to us." "Exactly!" Sarah exclaimed, her pulse quickening. "We need to tell them not just what's at stake but why it matters. Every memory is a thread in a tapestry of what makes us who we are. Then let us get to work." Lucy clapped her hands, her hope renewed. As they gathered around the table, the weight of their mission seemed lighter, buoyed by Mrs. Jenkins' story. Each photo felt more precious now, a crucial piece in the puzzle they were putting together. The fear of the unknown still lingered, but for the first time that morning, it was balanced with a tangible hope. Just then, a memory struck Sarah. What about the time we all came together during the blizzard? When we turned this place into a shelter? Lucy's eyes sparkled. That's it. We need to include stories like that, moments when people stood up for one another. Yes. Tom chimed in. Moments that show our spirit, our determination. And the energy in the diner soared. Laughter erupted again, this time chasing away the shadows of uncertainty. They started brainstorming, their voices overlapping as they dove deep into their hearts, sketching out stories that would light the way for their proposal. Yet, as the din of camaraderie continued to build, the door creaked open, and a familiar face stepped inside. Jim, the diner's old cook. His eyes bore a look of concern, a spark of urgency evident in his demeanor. I just heard something, he said, breathless. You need to know. His words hung heavy in the air, a new layer of tension unexpectedly woven into their shared moment of joy. What news would he bring? What had the storm stirred up now? As they awaited Jim's revelation, Sarah felt her heart race. The clock was ticking, and time was slipping away. Would they uncover the truth before it was too late? Jim took a moment to catch his breath, his hands trembling slightly where they rested on the countertop. The laughter and chatter faded into a hush, the diner holding its collective breath, waiting for the storm to break. Just this morning, Jim began, a deep frown creasing his forehead, I was at the market, and I overheard something. He leaned in closer, lowering his voice to a whisper as if sharing a secret with old friends. The mayor is considering a proposal to auction off the diner as part of a larger development project. The investors are eager, and if the deal goes through, he might not be able to protect it. A stunned silence enveloped the group, each individual absorbing the weight of Jim's words. Sarah's heart sank, the hope they had built up in the last few minutes crashing down like a wave against a rocky shore. No, Lucy said softly, shaking her head. He wouldn't do that. Not to us. Tom clenched his fists, his knuckles white against the table. But does he really understand what this place means to everyone? To our families? If they sell it, it's like selling our memories. Mrs. Jenkins looked shaken, her voice trembling. We can't let that happen. Not after everything this diner has survived. Sarah felt a fire spark inside her, fueled by the fear clawing at her heart. We won't let it happen. This diner is more than just a building. It's our community, our history, and our future. We need to fight for it. But how? Lucy's eyes glistened, sincerity etched into her features. We're just a diner. No. Jim interjected, determination lacing his voice. You are more than just a diner. You're a family, and families have strength. Remember the blizzard? You all became a lifeline. If you come together again, share your stories, and show that this diner is woven into the fabric of this town, maybe you can change the mayor's mind. A wave of inspiration washed over them, reigniting the hope they had just begun to breathe life into. The stories they were gathering were pieces of something larger than themselves. They weren't just tales, they were the heart of the community. They could form a compelling case. What if we set up a gathering? A night where everyone can come and share their memories about Sarah's place. Tom suggested. We can create an event, get folks to rally around it, make it loud and clear how much this diner means. Yes. Shouted Lucy, the excitement infectious. If we can pack the diner and spill out into the streets with love and support, how could the mayor ignore us? Yes. Mrs. Jenkins echoed, her cane tapping against the tile in a rhythm of encouragement. Let us remind them what it means to belong. The energy in the room surged, the air crackling with determination. They were no longer just a group of friends, they were a united front, armed with passion, purpose, and a renewed sense of belonging. As they discussed potential plans, Sarah felt her heart race with each passing second. This was their moment to shine, their moment to stand up for what mattered most, but just as plans began to take form, a familiar figure appeared through the window. It was the mayor, returning with a determined look on his face. Sarah felt her stomach drop. What would he say this time? Did he realize he was walking into a storm of passion and voices ready to rise up? Would he stand by or try to extinguish the very spirit they were trying so hard to protect? As the door swung open, the diner once again drew in a breath, ready for whatever was about to unfold. Would the mayor's presence signal hope or despair? Would it be a moment of truth or a moment of reckoning? Sarah stood at the front, her heart thrumming in her chest, ready to face whatever came next. Would they find a way to fight for their beloved diner before it slipped through their fingers? The room fell silent as Mayor Thompson stepped inside, his presence both commanding and unnerving. He surveyed the gathering with a critical gaze, a storm brewing behind his eyes. Sarah's pulse quickened, fueled by the emotional energy radiating from her friends and neighbors. They were ready to stand their ground, but would the mayor be the wall they needed to push against or an ally they could unite with? "Good afternoon, everyone," he began, his voice steady, yet the atmosphere felt charged. "I came back because I wanted to hear more about this gathering, what it is that has people so fired up." The tension in the air crackled, but Sarah stood her ground, stepping forward. "Mayor Thompson, we've been sharing our stories, the ones that connect us, the reasons why Sarah's place is so important. It's not just a diner, it's a home, a refuge. And it's where our community comes together during good times and bad." The mayor looked around, his expression unreadable as murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Sarah's heart swelled at the sight of her neighbors nodding, their conviction shining like beacons of hope. Lucy chimed in, "It's where my mother taught me the value of friendship and kindness. We can't lose that." "Your stories matter," the mayor said, his tone shifting slightly, the edges softening. "But you need to understand that change is complicated. There are many considerations to take into account, including financial ones." His eyes hardened again, but this time, Sarah noticed a flicker of something softer. Tom stepped up, fists clenched but courage ablaze in his chest. "That's what we're trying to show you. If we lose Sarah's place, we lose a part of ourselves. Our memories and spirit are what make this town valuable. We need to keep our heart beating." The passion echoed around the diner, igniting the air with determination. Mayor Thompson shifted uncomfortably, and Sarah seized her moment, driven by a surge of shared belief. "This gathering is just the beginning. We want to show everyone, including you, the rich history and community connection embodied in this place. We will gather stories, memories, and art to present a solid case because Sarah's place is worth fighting for." "I appreciate your passion," the mayor replied slowly, the words forming like stones in a river. "But you must realize that fighting against development means understanding the economic side of things. We cannot operate just on sentiment. We must adapt." Another ripple ran through the crowd at the mention of adapt. Mrs. Jenkins, leaning in on her cane, chimed in, "We do not need to adapt by losing what makes us whole. Growth should not come at the cost of our identity." The tension shifted again, as if the mayor was softened by the tribe's unity, the weight of their shared histories pressing on him like a tidal wave. Sarah noticed a spark of recognition flickering in his eyes, the realization of what they were building. It was as if he could see the diner as more than an address on a map but a heartbeat, a lifeline. "We want to partner with you," Sarah offered boldly, anxiety humming beneath her confident facade. "Let us work together, so that Sarah's place becomes both a treasured landmark and a complement to whatever development occurs. This town can grow while holding on to the buildings that represent our past." The mayor's gaze moved over the crowd, faces filled with sincerity, commitment, and spirit. The weight of their stories settled thick in the air. For a moment, Sarah dared to hope that they could truly transform this moment. "I'll have to think on this," he replied slowly, "but I appreciate your resolve. Tonight's gathering could be more than just sharing memories, it can be a call to action. If you can show me how preserving this diner can coexist with the development plan, I'll do my best to advocate for that." The room erupted with murmurs of surprise and elation, cautious optimism rippling through them like a cool breeze cutting through summer heat. Sarah stood still, absorbing the shift while her heart danced with joy. It wasn't a full victory. But it was a chance, a doorway into a future they could mold together. As the mayor nodded and turned to leave, he paused at the door just long enough to say, "Remember, it's about how you can prove value beyond sentiment. I want to see this town thrive as much as you do." When he left, the burst of energy in the diner exploded like fireworks lighting up the night sky. "We did it!" Tom shouted, enthusiasm radiating from him. "He's on our side, we have to keep going. Let us gather those stories." Lucy bounced on her toes, her eyes sparkling. "This time, it's not just about preserving Sarah's place, it's about breathing life into the history of Willow Creek." As ideas flew around the room, posters, artwork, civic engagement, Sarah felt a wave of gratitude roll through her. In this moment, every heart in the diner beat in harmony, filling her with faith. Together, they could create something that would resonate, something beautiful enough to appeal not just to the mayor, but to everyone who walked through those doors. That night, they filled the diner with laughter, and Sarah's heart swelled again, infused with new energy. Each story shared was another piece of the tapestry that wove them together, each moment a reminder that even when change knocked at their door, they could stand tall as a community. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, they felt the wind at their backs. As Sarah looked around at the smiling faces, illuminated by soft lighting and hope, she realized they weren't just fighting for bricks and mortar. They were fighting for the beautiful threads of a life they created, woven tightly together with love and resilience. As new dreams blossomed, they all knew deep down that this diner's spirit, this family, was worth every ounce of energy they could muster. In that moment of absolute unity, Sarah felt a spark ignite within her. This was their story to tell, a chance to show the world that they could face any storm together, and right then, with laughter filling the air and hope threaded tightly through their hearts, they became the authors of their own story, one that would resonate across Willow Creek for years to come. Before she tucked herself into bed that night, Sarah smiled to herself, remembering all their laughter and memories. They would share that love, and she would ensure that their journey would never fade away. Now, this is the moment to make your voice heard. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. You need to be a part of this. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm and let everyone see we're united. Comment below your feelings about this inspiring journey and how Sarah's place touched your heart. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through your actions.